All right, welcome everyone. Here we go. We had quite a full waiting room. It's a good sign. People are ready to start 2026 with a bang. You never know how that's going to go. I love it. I see Al has joined the waiting room. Evan, if we can bring him in, pin him. Good. I love it. Hey, Amy, good to see you. All right, we got people pumped up and ready to go. Our musical selection, I don't actually listen to a lot of Otis Redding, but he's got this New Year's resolution song, Otis Redding and Carla Thomas. So I thought it was appropriate for this time of the year. Hey, all my friends who are coming back and know the rules, help any of the newcomers. We love to have the cameras on, but the mic's off for now, unless you want to come and chat with us live. And if you know how to use Zoom, click those little three dots and add your organization name after your company name, after your name, just so we can all know who's here in the room with us. And warm up your fingers because we like to have a busy chat room. It's not about me, it's not about Dwayne, it's not even about our guests, but don't tell them. We want to see what's going on in the chat room. We got a good mastermind going on here. So the question is, and as always, make it your own. What's your resolution for 2026? Maybe you're not into resolutions. Do you have a word or a mantra? Do you have a goal? It could be personal, it could be professional. Bold, I love this. Wonder, that's more my speed for this year. Last year was more bold. Intentionality, Kendall, love that too. Happy New Year, Trav. Courage, I love that, always. Align, oh, I love these words. I can see people are more into the words than the full out resolutions, which we never do anyway, right? Rest, Amy's ready for some rest. Curiosity and growth. Prime, Kira turned a prime number. Ooh, you're gonna have to share maybe. Visit more countries I haven't been to yet. Rachel, that's awesome. I'm actually gonna be leaving to do a trip down to Patagonia in a couple of weeks. So I'll knock 3 countries off the list there. Mentioned our musical artist is Otis Redding and Carla Thomas. And it's actually a song less about resolutions and more about like reconnecting with the most important person in your life. Let's get started. If we haven't met, I'm Kevin Kruse. I'm the founder and CEO of LEADx. If this is your first time here in our community of practice, let us know that you're a first timer, and maybe tell us what city you're coming from. We'd love to give some special cheer to the first timers as well. And of course, this is our community of practice, an invitation only group that we get together once a month. We have this audacious goal to make it your favorite meeting of the month. So we want we want to learn things. We want to stay on top of the trends. We want to make new relationships and try to have a lot of fun while we're doing it. The agenda today is packed as usual. Right out of the gates, we're going to do a quick 1-question peer poll. We're going to give you a free AI prompt because we all need to be developing these AI skills these days. We're going to share hot off the press EQ research that we did and just published in the last month. We've got a great guest who's going to talk about trends and what's top of mind for L&D professionals. We're going back this month to do a quick breakout. You need to dig your well before you're thirsty. Making friends, new friends in your peer group is going to make you better at your job today, pick you up when you're having a bad time in life or career, and help you to get your next job if you should ever want one. We're also going to bring back the spinny wheel to give away several copies of the book. A book is, we're going to do one of my books, 11 Secrets Successful People Know About Goal Setting. This is the time of year for goals and kicking the year off right, business and professional. So we're going to give away a bunch of copies of my goal setting book, and then we'll end with the top 5 plays of the month. As usual, I am joined by my friend and co-host. He is the Director of Commercial Excellence at Turomo, the Dwayne Bess. Dwayne, Happy New Year.
How are you doing, Kevin? Nice to see you smile, my man.
Yeah, I'm feeling very good. I don't know a lot about Otis Redding. Do you listen to Otis Redding at all?
I do like a little bit of Otis. I do like his work, so I've always been a fan.
Dwayne, I just found out, which blew my mind. So Otis Redding was born in 1941, same year as my dad, but he
Hmm.
died in 67, the year I was born. So he died young. I kind of thought Otis
Yeah.
Redding was some elder soulful
Yeah,
singer,
no.
like just from the
Yeah,
voice
no.
alone. He was a young man when he died.
Yeah, but I think most of the artists during that time, they had more character and soul in their voice. So when you go back, they always sound a little older, and you're like, you're 28, you're 32. What just happened, right? So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. And then I think most people would know him from sitting on the dock of the bay, on the dock of the
That's
bay.
right.
That came out after he died. It was the last song he recorded, so he never even got to see the massive success, which is sad. What a gift he gave us. So it's incredible.
Someone says the best song on Top Gun.
The best song on Top Gun. That is great. That is great. Dwayne, how about you? You got any personal and professional goals for the year?
Yeah, I would say this is funny. One, it's losing 10 pounds, right? Everyone, a lot of times people do that,
Me too.
I'm losing 10 pounds. The wife and I were going to go check out One World Wonder because we're trying to knock out some of the world wonders. And my
Wow.
professional and personal goal is just being present and saying no.
Mm.
That's my word of 2026. No.
No. If it's not a fast, hard yes, it's a no,
No.
right?
Yes.
I
What about
love that.
you?
It's funny. I've had quite a journey with goal setting. So right up to age 40, and that's when I sold, depending on how you count it, like my second or third company. I
Mhm.
was deep into goal setting. I mean, I was just all about it. And that is when I wrote the first draft of this book on goal setting. But I
Yeah.
had an awakening and realized I actually threw away the manuscript. And it took me 10 years to like dust it off and
Mhm.
finish it with a bonus chapter because goal setting will, I think it's like magic on earth. It will get you do it right, it makes your dreams come true. The
Right.
problem is you have to be very careful about what you're dreaming about. And so, what I found was
Mhm.
goal setting by its nature, it means I am not enough yet, right? There's something else I need to do. Dwayne, you and I, we want to lose 10 pounds this year because then we will be worthy of love, right? I am less than perfect until I get that 10 pounds off me.
That's
And
right.
so, reflecting on that, it's like this, like the happiest dude I know is my friend. He's a Zen monk, Mato Moore. He
Hmm.
has no income. He has no assets. Doesn't even own a home. He, sits and meditates all day at his monastery, and and yet he's written books. He's built this place and all that. And I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to do another book about this hidden Zen thing. Like, oh, is that like a goal for your year? And he just laughed. He's like, I don't have goals. Like it's like doing is so much easier than being.
Yes.
Doing is a great way to avoid our feelings that I have very mixed feelings about them. So that's like the 90% of this book is like go do these things and you'll make $1 million and lose 10 pounds. And then the
Mhm.
last chapter is like, okay, throw away this book because it's kind of like poison and there's different ways. Like you want to become an identity, not
Yeah.
not do a goal. So I got like this real Jekyll and Hyde thing about it. But
But you said something that was really powerful, and I don't want to miss it. And you said it depends on what you're dreaming about.
yeah,
And that's huge because you're right. You can do all these goals, but what if it isn't being honest with your authentic self or the path you're supposed to be? So
yeah,
that's why so many times people put these goals in place. You take this journey and you're like, okay, now what? And you're like, I don't even feel
yeah.
fulfilled. But what were you dreaming about? So that was huge. I like that.
Yeah, and I'll just wrap it up with one thing to make this about a goal setting workshop, though we'll be talking about them here. An author, a guy I like a lot, love his books. He's a pastor in DC, Mark Batterson. And I'm a pretty secular guy, but like he said some stuff that really resonated with me. And one thing he said was, look, you do want God-sized goals. So everyone talks about SMART goals. A is
Mhm.
achievable, right? And he says, no, no, no. He says, you want God-sized goals, meaning, and this is my secular interpretation of it. He says,
Yeah.
you will fail unless you get help from God. And he said,
Oh,
and he's saying, you want to go so big that you don't know how you're going to get there. And by
that's right.
definition, now this is Kevin talking, not Mark Batterson, but it's like a goal so big that like I don't have the plan yet. I'm going to need to find friends. I'm going to need to find allies. I'm going to need to
Yeah.
grow and change. And that was pretty cool. And then when I talked to him about the problems with being, with goal setting, he laughed and he says, yeah, in my 20s, all my goals were like about myself. And he says,
Yes.
when I got older, I put other people into them. So it's
And
like, I'm going to run a marathon with my son. I want to
mm,
see Paris with my wife. So all of a sudden it became about deepening relationships in fun ways. So
yeah,
anyways, cool stuff. You can tell I geek out on that.
I like that. I like that. What's that? There's a book that talks, is it Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals, right?
Oh yeah, big, hairy, audacious goals. That's right. Yeah, from Jim Collins. Talk about
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
For I love that. Yeah, for even business goals.
yeah, yeah.
So let's get into the official agenda, and we've got our one question peer poll, and it's around goal setting. So Evans popped up this poll, and I'm curious: is goal setting currently part of how you train your managers? Do you train your managers to set goals? And sometimes it's SMART goals, sometimes it's objectives and key results, OKRs. So how many of you are actually training it at some point in your curriculum? 85%. I assumed it was most, but that's actually much higher than I would have thought. And we've got a case study floating out there somewhere where I flew out to California and I interviewed the folks at Adobe.
Mm,
And they were so hardcore from the top. They said, we're just going to, now this is maybe 2 years ago, so maybe I need to check in with them. But they said, we're wiping away like almost everything we're doing for leadership development and saying, we're going hardcore on how to set goals, how to cascade goals, how to follow up with your team members' goals. It was just
mm,
really all about goal setting and showing that
mm.
power. We're almost 90%. Bravo, well done. Forget about all the stuff I said about goals being bad. You're doing a great job there. That was personal life. We definitely want goals at work because we need to know what the expectations are, right? We need to know what the expectations are. All right, I'm going to close that poll. Thanks for that, Evan. Here's our free AI prompt of the month. So this is a prompt we developed to basically diagnose your DISC assessment. So many of us are into behavioral assessments for our colleagues, for our managers, for ourselves. The way this works is we have a big, long, multi-page prompt that you would just copy and paste into ChatGPT or your favorite AI. When you launch it, it gives you a quiz. Now, these are 16 questions developed by the psychologists at the Open Psychometrics organization. So they are psychologists. They have validated against Wiley Everything Disc. So it's their questions. And then at the end, when you've answered the questions, the AI spits out your scores. Now, in the version I have for you today, it just spits out your scores. Pretty magical in itself, since it's completely free. And the version we're working on now gives you this 12-page report PDF, extremely similar to the Wiley Everything Disc. So here's the thing, though. Takes a lot of work to put this in, and we're refining it. So if you want it, you have to agree to give me feedback on it. So if you want it, we're not just going to drop a link to everybody. Send me an email, kevin@leadx.org. I'm going to work with you directly on this. I'll send you a link to the prompt. You just have to promise that you'll try it and then tell me, how it worked out for you, how it could be better, so that we can refine it. And that's our AI prompt of the month. And feel free, by the way. In fact, I'm thinking like, boy, these comments, the chat is really quiet. It's because I'm scrolled at the top and I'm not seeing that people are actually typing things. So I appreciate this. This is good. Intentional. Um, I love that. So that's our AI prompt of the month. And then we've got a new segment that is EQ Research of the month. So here at LeadX, because we're doing so many EQ assessments, including off of our website, we have access to more, we have the power to do more research on EQ than really any other organization now on the planet. And so this first question, the first topic we looked at is the correlation between emotional intelligence and four primary EQ skills and performance and pay. So this is like, we went right to the jugular. Like, what's the hard benefits? So I want to introduce back on, most of you know him already, Evan Watkins, who runs this community for us, is the co-author of 2 EQ books and many of our other works as well. So Evan, how you doing, first of all?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Excited to break down our first monthly research for sure.
Yeah, it's cool. It's I always get excited when our guests, I mean, the last one we did was MD Anderson showing us all that research. They're actually publishing the papers, which was really cool. So that inspired me. And people who were on the last one can tell. They're like, Kevin dropped the research right into Notebook LM and made this slide. And that is true. I took it, dumped it in Notebook LM, hit a button, and 2 seconds later, it made us this slide. So Evan, what are we looking at here?
Yeah. So to start with, like, why are we doing this? I think just the basic question of why did we explore this question, right? When someone comes into training programs, they're always looking for the what's in it for me. Classic would be to go to like industry research, right? So if you're in manufacturing, you want to look at emotional intelligence reducing incidents. If you're in hospitality, you'd want to look for increased guest satisfaction, things like that. But we wanted to go, like Kevin said, straight to the jugular, right? So the what's in it for me, regardless of your job, regardless of if you change careers or switch jobs, like the staying power of how emotional intelligence can help you. And so it's based on 1,499 working professionals. And we looked at first emotional intelligence's relationship to job performance, and secondly, its relationship to pay. And we found significant results across both. So to break it down in a bit more detail, let's start with job performance. We found that roughly a 10% increase in your emotional intelligence translates to about a 0.2 to 0.3 jump on the 5-point performance scale. So to put it into like Likert scale terms, that would generally be enough to move an employee from average to above average, or from above average to well above average. And then when it comes to salary, 10% boost predicts about a quarter step increase in salary bracket. And each bracket that we had was about $50,000 in salary. So to jump brackets is a really big jump. And what we saw was that a 20% increase in emotional intelligence corresponds to roughly a $15,000 to $20,000 jump. And so for fun, we looked at like, what would that look like over the course of a career, maybe a 30-year career, and it comes out to about $500,000. And so to highlight just kind of one little fun side thing in the bottom right corner there, we're looking at each of the sub-skills of emotional intelligence and their relationship to job performance and salary. And you'll see of the 4 core skills, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management, that relationship management piece has the strongest relationship to both job performance and salary. To speculate on why that might be, it's sort of the culmination of each of the 4 core emotional intelligence skills. So to manage relationships, think about things like giving effective feedback, having tough conversations, building relationships, coaching skills if you're a leader. All of those fall in that relationship management bucket. And to do those things, you do need each of the 3 other emotional intelligence skills, right? You need to be aware of your emotions, how you come across to others, and you need to manage your emotions and how you come across to others. And then, of course, you need to be aware of other people and empathize with them in order to effectively manage relationships. So when you think of it through that lens, it makes a lot of sense that it would be the most strongly correlated to job performance and salary. So that's the general breakdown. I'll drop a link in the chat to the Forbes article we wrote, which gets into more detail. And this is a monthly ongoing series. So if you have anything like you're interested in research on emotional intelligence and blank, drop it in the chat and we can probably do it.
Yeah, Evan, I'm glad I want to just highlight what you said there is, we have a research plan right now where our intention is to look at EQ correlating to many of the skills that we're seeing McKinsey and others saying are like the skills of the future, especially in this AI world. And I think that's a solid plan, but we're here to serve you. So if you have a certain topic that you're curious about, EQ tied to blank, as Evan said, let us know and we can do it. We're doing these monthly, and again, we got pretty excited with this one. We were able to get any study like this over 1,000 people is pretty rare to have that big of an N, and then we could see it drove very accurate statistics on this. And if anyone wants to do any custom internal case studies or research, let us know. We definitely are interested in that possibility as well. And Kara, this is based on self-reported EQ skills. Thanks for asking that question. And drop other questions in the chat. Evan can answer them along the way. All right, so moving along, I want to remind you that, of course, this community doesn't cost you money, even though you spend thousands to go to all those conferences and stuff, but it's not free. What we do ask for is that, one, you help us to grow the community. So invite your colleagues, invite your friends. If you know anyone in talent development, either send them our way, like send an email to us or have them connect, or have them go to our website where they can fill out a form. Again, this isn't for coaches and vendors, it's for your colleagues who are practitioners in-house, but help us grow the community. At the end of this Zoom, we'll try to end right on time because there's like a 10-second survey. It's like 4 questions, but it gives us feedback, including, was this the best meeting of your month? That's the high bar we're holding ourselves to. And then finally, just keep us in mind for EQ. You know, if someone on your team wants to become a certified EQ coach and trainer, we'd love to be your partner in that. Or if you're looking to bring EQ development in-house, you know, we can provide that for you as well. So we hope to keep that in mind. I should tell you how to get more information about that. So whether it's if someone wants to become a certified EQ coach and facilitator, or you're interested in bringing in EQ training, the simplest thing is just drop an email to evan@leadex.org. You can go to our website and fill out a form and all that, but we'll take care of you either way. So let's dive into this highlight here. This is going to be really fun and, again, perfect for kicking off the year. Our guest today previously worked as a consultant at Deloitte and as a product manager at Salesforce. He is the founder of The Edge of Work. He speaks, consults, leads research on the future of work and leadership development. His work has been featured in Fast Company, Business Insider, the World Economic Forum, and other places. He's here today to talk to us about his new research report, priorities, perspectives, possibilities. I've got the cover here, Al. I did the printout. Please welcome Al Dia. Al, Happy New Year.
Kevin, Happy New Year to you. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Kevin, anytime you ever email me or ask about something, I always say yes. And one of the reasons why is because you, like me, share a passion for investing in the growth of the profession. And I just want to call out all the efforts that you make and your team make to do that. And anytime I get an email from you, I'm always happy to say yes because we share that bond. And so thank you for having me and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Al, I appreciate that, Al. And you know, we're one big happy family of about 150 people live right now, and 1,000 or more out in the universe who couldn't make it today. And as a guest to our family, tell us, like, where you coming from now? Where's home for you?
Sure. So we live in Santa Monica, California. Been in about LA area for about 5 years, but started my life a long way from here. Grew up in upstate New York. So pretty much the opposite of Southern California, but joining you from a nice sunny Southern California today.
Okay, so I was born in Redondo Beach and ended up
Yes,
in
that's
Jersey
right.
and Philadelphia. So
Yeah,
we like cross paths somewhere along that way.
we did. And Kevin, I have to remind you, I was in Wilmington, Delaware for the holidays. I know you're not too far away from there. So next time I'm in town visiting my wife's family, I'm gonna have to hit you up so we can catch up in person again.
I'm gonna want to do that. Now, I think we might have met in person at an
Yes.
ATD first time. We kind of were in each other's circles, but we
Yes.
did ATD, and I've been blown away. That might have been a couple of years ago with, again, the work that you're doing and what you're giving. We've here at LeadX have done a lot of research and reports. Phenomenal job on
Oh,
this
thank
one.
you.
I don't know if Evan dropped the link to how people are going to be able to get this or not. Well written, well designed, not easy to pull off. Like, this is better than what we all get out of ATD or SHRM or whatever. So
Oh,
again,
thank you.
thanks for putting that into there. So Al, let's dive in. So tell us, like, what made you decide to put this together? What's its overall scope? And then we're going to go and do a little bit more of a deep dive.
Sure. So, Kevin, I think like you, I'm always curious and open to listening about what's actually happening and going on in the trenches. And through my leadership development work, as well as my work hosting the Edge of Work podcast, I get the privilege of talking with lots of talent and learning leaders. And in those conversations, one of the questions that always comes up, as I'm sure it does for you, is what are other people doing or what are other people saying or doing? And I will have to admit, some of this report comes out of me being lazy and always having to try to remember what the last conversation I had said was and the tops of the things that kind of came to mind. And so part of the impetus, if I'm being truly transparent with all of you, was that the next time I got that question, I could just pull up something to say, this is actually what's going on, right? This is actually what's happening based off of lots of the conversations that I'm having. But I think the other thing of it, and I think this speaks to perhaps the privilege of the position that you and I are in, which is we do have a little bit of a broader perspective of what's happening in the workplace today based off of where we sit in our unique circumstances. And so part of why I wanted to do this was to be able to make some of that information more accessible to a wider audience because so like you said, not everyone has a chance to go to a conference all the time. Not everyone has a chance to really connect with all sorts of diverse people in the ways that you and I get to do on a day-to-day basis. And so some of this was drawn out of being able to certainly further and grow my business, but some of this also was drawn a little bit out of a slight amount of laziness.
Yeah, I love it. Al, you mentioned your podcast. I love listening to yours and Josh Burson and others. Usually when I'm on the treadmill is how I try to stay up to speed. Where can people find your podcast? Is it on Spotify? Where else?
Yes. Thank you for asking. It is definitely on Spotify. It is called The Edge of Work. I can put the link in the chat if anyone wants to listen in and
Look at
listen
you
along.
multitasking there all ready to go.
I've learned a thing or two.
So, Al, the first part is priorities. So, give
Yes.
us high level. What did you
Yeah.
hear when it comes
Yeah.
to priorities? What are people thinking about and focused on for 2026?
Great question. So I did about 40 interviews with talent and learning leaders at Fortune 1000 companies. And so just setting context for folks out there in terms of what we're looking at. And the number one question I asked after introductions to every single guest or that I interviewed was, what are the top three priorities that you're working on right now, given the context of your business? Now, I've got about 120 of them. So it would be really hard to rattle them off. But what I will say are a couple things that come to mind, and I'm happy to dig further into any of these if this sounds interesting. So the number one thing that came top of mind can be summed up in one word, which is change. And I did some digging and listening and trying to synthesize a little bit more. And when we break that down, there's about 4 or 5 different levers of change, if you will, that really amounts to. But I don't think that really is a surprise to anyone on this call because it's something that I think we're all experiencing for certainly professionally, but also certainly personally as well. So I think that would be the number one thing that would bring top of mind. I think the second thing, and this will be interesting to dig into if you'd like, is this idea of operating on two timelines or what I call the barbell effect. And it felt like in a lot of instances that leaders I spoke to felt like they were operating in almost two different ends of the spectrum. And it could be best summarized by this one conversation I had with a chief learning officer who said, before I talked to you this afternoon, we talked in the afternoon, he said, the first meeting I had of the morning was talking with my team on a readout of a project we just completed where we successfully decommissioned 6,000 compliance training courses that had accumulated over the past 2 decades. The meeting
That's a few.
That's a few. The immediate meeting after that was trying to define in our organization what human plus AI leadership competencies would look like. And I think that explains so much of what some people are feeling today, where it literally feels like we're operating in two worlds, two different ends of a barbell, if you will, of what we have to solve in the here and now to deliver on what our business needs, while also thinking about this thing that looks far off into the future, which could actually be a lot closer than perhaps maybe we think. And then maybe the last thing, and certainly happy to go dive deeper on any of these, but I got a whole slew of other things that typically tend to come up that are topics du jour. But the one probably that comes most top of mind and probably will be relevant for you, Kevin, and your team, as well as folks on here, is managers, managers, managers. And we're seeing a lot of different flavors of this, but I don't know if that will ever go away, right? At least right now. And so, but I couldn't have that question come up without some kind of talk about the manager piece. And so those are three, I guess, three of the top things that come top of mind.
Al, great stuff. And what jumped out at me, I was glad, in your report is that you have a whole section called "What Needs to Go," and it's kind of like Dwayne saying
Yes.
his word of the year is no. I like to keep a stop doing list, so every year I try to think like, what is something I'm going to stop doing? And it was kind of funny. Like this was a quote someone gave you. LMS and talent management systems create more administrative work than value. Most employees don't use them anyway. And that was
Yeah,
just a
I
snippet
know.
from like
Yeah.
trying to stop the
Yeah.
inefficient, ineffective talent processes or decommission 6,000 compliance
Yeah.
courses, right?
Uh, for sure. Well, I think it was Peter Drucker, for those who are familiar, he's the management thinker. I'll be honest, I like a lot of what he wrote about and studied, maybe not all of it, but one of his most famous quotes that still sticks with me to this day is there's nothing as useless as doing something efficiently that should have never been done in the first place.
That's right.
And I
Love it.
think that's an invitation for all of us to do what you just said, Kevin, which is to think about what can we stop doing? The proverbial addition by subtraction. And to your point, the question that I actually asked in this section was basically something to the effect of, and for folks out there who are listening, this is something I think you can take to all of your teams, but it is the classic start, stop, continue. What is one
Yeah.
thing we should start doing? What's one thing that we should stop doing? And that's one thing that we should continue doing. And again, throw that across 40, I got 120 of those. But even just doing that on your team, it's interesting to kind of see what your team would come up with. How much of those things are similar? What's different? What's spiky of like, oh, I never would have thought of that. But anyway, I think there's
Yeah.
a lot of power in that stop list and even expanding beyond that, if you will.
I love it. I noticed Kendall Murray had her hand up. Kendall, if you want to, you're like, no, moment passed. It was just, yeah, it was an applause. That worked. That worked. And I'm loving all the chatter in the chat, and I want to remind folks that we're going to give away a few copies of my book at the end of the program, and we've got this goofy spinny wheel to help pick the people. Not every name, not all 150 names gets on the wheel. The team in the background is kind of noticing the chat group. No guarantee that you'll be on the wheel even if you chat, but it sure increases your odds. So keep that mastermind going over there, and we'll have that book giveaway soon. Al, the thing we're all talking about, of course, and you've got your second part is perspectives, AI, and the workplace. So what are people talking about?
Yeah, this was one that came top of mind. To your point, everyone's talking about this, but I really wanted the lens in particular of individuals who worked within talent and learning to better understand the different ways in which this was really coming up for them or how they were being involved and engaged with this, perhaps in their line of sight, in their line of work. I came up with about five, I guess, different initiative. We'll call them initiatives. You may have your own nomenclature inside of your organization around this, but five different initiatives that came up the most when I asked people, what are you doing within talent and learning with respect to AI? And when I say, what are you doing? This could be either leading it, it could be supporting it, it could be collaborating or co-creating on it. So varying degrees of involvement, if you will. But those five things are, number one, we'll call this enterprise strategy and governance, right? So being involved in the broader organizational strategy as well as governance around AI in your organization. Most of the time, if not all of the time, this was supporting, right? And usually if you're supporting, you're also working across the org with IT, product management, legal, risk, etc. The second one, and I will say this one probably came up the most, was around driving AI adoption and all of the change management and support around it, right? And in this case, this could be supporting, but in many cases, it was driving. The third was this idea of AI as a learning and leadership development partner. And so this was all around trying to, in most cases, experiment, but in some cases, maybe a little bit further along, use AI to enhance development experiences and opportunities. And this was not just as per se a subject of learning, but rather using this as in terms of the interventions or the things they were using as part of programs. The fourth was more internal in terms of how are we using AI to improve the efficacy and in most cases, I would say efficiency of the existing process we have. And then last but not least was around really the intersection of AI skills and careers. And how do we either use AI to better service and match talent to opportunities? How do we use AI in our own skills transformation, et cetera? And so those were kind of the five that came up. I'm happy to go deeper on any of those, but those were the ones that tended to come up the most in terms of what are talent and learning professionals really focused on in this space with respect to their organization?
Yeah, Al, this is I mean, so much. I'm going to pull the reins on myself back here because I could go deep
Sure,
on
same.
all of those as well, right? The
Yeah,
over the break, I was going deep into AI and for a lot of reasons and things. And what kept coming up, what I kept stumbling on is all these reports about, so, AI transformation is not going well in most organizations.
yeah,
And there's a lot of good data showing that if the managers aren't using AI on a daily basis, their team members are not going to use it even on a weekly
yeah,
basis, right? And so once
100%.
again, this shouldn't shock this group. Like the frontline leaders, as they goes the organization. What we do here, like what it matters so much. And so
Yeah,
if there was ever a time to go seize budget, go seize mind share from the C-suite, you got something to anchor on right now. It's like, hey, there's this once in a 100-year thing, once in a global history thing going on right now. The frontline leaders need training, development, support, so all the things that we do. And so it doesn't surprise that it made so much of your report.
it doesn't shock me either. So 2 points on this, and I think this will hopefully be music to your ears. I think the first point I wanted to make is that a reoccurring theme throughout this report, and it came up in a bunch of different instances, but could definitely be applied to managers, is this idea of the say, do, reward model, if you will. And if you want anything to ever happen inside of your organization, you got to have all three. And that oftentimes starts with leaders, right? Because if I'm an individual contributor, I'm looking out for my survival. If I know that it's something that my leader is doing, that makes it safe for me and it makes it open for me to go and do that. And so if you really want to get to the heart of this, to your point, getting to the leaders really could be a good place to start. But the second piece, and perhaps I know you like to keep your one question polls really short, but this might be a good one in the future. One of the questions I did ask was something to the effect of, if I gave you a couple $100,000 and you could only spend it on one of these populations, which one would you choose? And the four options were frontline leaders. The second option was individual contributors. The third option was middle managers. And the last option was essentially exec development. I'm leading the witness here, but I think you can guess as to which one the most popular one that people chose, which was in fact, frontline leaders. And then obviously people caveated with, well, this or that or the other, and this is why I wouldn't just choose one. But the reality of it is that for the most part, most people chose either frontline or middle managers. And I think it speaks to just everything that you just said, though, in terms of just how valuable and critical those could be.
Now let's take the next couple of minutes because I
Yeah.
want people talking in their groups about this as well. The third part you have is called possibilities. What comes
Yes.
next? Give us the
Yeah.
headlines.
Sure. So one of the things I care deeply about, as I mentioned in the beginning, is really thinking about the future of the profession. And that was what I wanted to really ask folks out there who are living and breathing this every day of, what are your thoughts about where we are and looking forward into the future? So a couple key highlights in terms of a couple of things that I saw. So the first thing that I saw in the report, there's actually some really interesting insights here around what are some of the possible roles we could see within talent and learning in the future, right? And I asked the question to the degree of, imagine you're in a similar role, but 5 years out. What kinds of roles are on your team? Or at a very minimum, what kind of skills are you hiring for, looking for? And what I found were some really fascinating ideas. Some are things in which roles we colloquially know today and exist today, but others I don't really know what they are or what they could be, but are really interesting to think about. But I think that the headline from it, from that alone, is what we do know is this: if all of us are doing this, trying to do the same thing with the same mindset in 5 years that we're doing today, none of us are probably going to be in a job very long. And so then the question becomes, what do I need to do to think and work differently so that I can be impactful 5 years from now from today? I think the other thing that came up in this was around, I did ask something, the question of, what do you think the profession needs to do to stay relevant and to stay impactful in the future? And this is where it got interesting in terms of thinking about, how do we collectively get out of our own way at times to be able to continue the great work that we're doing, but also, if we're being honest, make up for some of the areas which we traditionally have not been as good in. Now, some of the things that came up here are things that many of us here today have traditionally heard in terms of being a better business partner, in terms of having better business acumen, in terms of being a strategic partner, seat at the table conversation, yada, yada, yada. So let's forget that for a second, because I don't need to lecture people on that. We've all heard that enough. But I think where this really gets interesting is this idea around value creation. And that was a theme that kind of came up. I mean, the whole point of a business is exchange of value in some kind, right?
Yep.
Back in the day, Kevin, hundreds of thousands of years ago, businesses existed because Kevin had fire, Dwayne had water, and Al had like fish or some other kind of food. And like we all connected and got together because that was what we needed to survive. And if we just take businesses like that's really what it's about at a fundamental level, there was a lot of talk around how do we find ways to ensure that we are playing a role in some kind of capacity in that value creation. And the one thing that kind of came up within that was this idea of how do we move from always being in a reactive place to having foresight, right? What can we do along the foresight lines of being able to sense and spot signals that would enable us to make decisions around talent that could create more value in the future because of a net new product we could launch or a net new market we could get into? And so some really interesting thoughts around that as well.
Love it, Al. What we're going to do is I am going to invite everyone. We're going to just give you, we're not even going to do the full 15 minutes, Evan. We're going to do about 10 minutes. So we're going to want to maybe do triads, small groups here. And we just want to give everyone a chance to introduce yourself, make one or two new friends. You're going to have a very small group. What are your thoughts on Al's new research? What's resonating in your own organization? How are you guys thinking about things maybe differently? What matters most to you right now? Again, these are just starter questions. We want you to start your year, your 26, in these crazy times with some new connections, with some new friends. So Evan, whenever you're ready, send people away. We'll pull you back. We'll give away books and finish with the top 5 plays of the month. Silly thing, just for fun, reward some hardcore participation. We've got this spin the wheel game. So not every name's going to be on this list, but the more you commented, the quality of your comments, you're going to catch our folks' eyes. And so I see some names on here: Karina, Dee Dee, Gary, Ann. And I'm just supposed to click. I'm a little new at this myself. So I'm going to click this wheel to spin. Let's see who comes up for the first free copy of 11 Secrets Successful People Know About Goal Set. Sharon, oh my gosh, this is not.
Oh, thank you.
Sharon, this is like
so much.
This is like we love Sharon, and this wasn't rigged. Sharon, I have no idea how to rig this game, so this is legit. It's your lucky day.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's do another one. That was fun. So we got Sharon. We know we got Sharon's address. Know how to track her down. Karina. Okay, we got our second winner of the day. It's cracking me up.
Go, Karina.
I like it. The people who are playing along. Michael's giving the claps. We're giving some late. I like that. All right, we'll do one more. All right, let's see. Who do we got? Third winner of the day. Some goal setting. Kiana Jones gets the third book of for goal setting. All right.
Make sure you sign those, Kevin. Make sure you sign those.
Dwayne, they're so easy to send from Amazon. They're not so easy once I start signing them. You're raising the bar. Here. All right. So our final segment, we've got to go fast. This is inspired by ESPN top five plays of the day. This is the top 5 stories that caught my eye. So it's personal, not always directly related to talent development. And what we've got coming in at number 5 is a new Gartner report. So again, Gartner's a big name. So all of us need to know what Gartner's talking about just because it's what everyone else is going to be talking about. So this, we're here talking about trends. And of course, we have Al Dia's trends report, which is our number 1 priority. But also good is this Gartner report, top trends and priorities for CHROs in 2026. Shape work in the human machine era, perception of AI as talent alternative. It's going to echo a lot of these same themes, Al, right? That we're talking about. Address culture atrophy to power performance. Now, this is about going hardcore. This is about being meaner to our employees. I think I'm going to be writing about the death of employee experience very soon. Harness AI to revolutionize HR. So that's the internal focus that we're all talking about. Mobilize leaders for growth in an uncertain world. Growth, efficiency, tightrope. Not a lot I want to go deep on this, but like we can all download it here. There's a source here. We're going to send you these slides. And then here's our goal setting theme. This was getting a lot of circulation out on X. Have you heard that goals should be about process, not outcomes? Dwayne, so this was a big meta research project, and they found process goals had a large effect, performance goals had a moderate effect, outcome goals had a negligible effect. So Dwayne, you and I, yes, we want to lose 10 pounds, but that's an outcome goal. So for me, I got to go back to process. My goal has to be about back to those 10,000 steps a day. And for a while, a 500 calorie deficit every day tracked on my macros. What's going to be your process, Dwayne?
So it's interesting you say this. I read an article about something very similar where a gentleman was talking about that 5%, and we normally kind of fizzle out. And people, when they get stuck, they want to just effort and do more, where you should turn to the process to actually get to the next step. So based off of process, I've been actually building more processes for my nose and my 10 pounds. I do have my process that I'm leaning in on.
And I go deeper into that actually in the book, where it's like, look, I want the BHAG. I want the God-sized goal to motivate me to get out of bed in the morning, but then I'm going to break it down. I'm going to have my goal for the quarter, for the month, et cetera. So I think it's sub goals. Now this, I don't know what to make of this, but we need to know this is going on. So did you know that change fitness is the new agility? So anything that's going to get pushed by Harvard Business Review Press is going to get some traction as well. AI trends for 2026, building change fitness and balancing trade-offs. And Al was telling us about this, right? Change was in the report. Change fitness is the capacity to metabolize significant and ongoing change. It shows up as curiosity, experimentation, comfort. Okay, so to me, I hear growth mindset, I hear resilience, I hear agility. Why do we need to invent a new word for it? I don't know. But if it gets people to invest in these EQ type skills, I'm all for it. Al, weigh in here. Do we need a new word for this or not?
I'm always of the mindset of, if it helps you get the outcome you want, by all means, use the language you need. And I do wonder sometimes if we're just reinventing the wheel. But that said, different things land for different people. And so to your point, if it gets to the behavior we want to see, by all means, use it.
Or if it gets you the budget you need for your agility workshop,
There you
boom,
go.
we're going to use it in that way too. Have you heard? Everyone is creating an AI manifesto. So this company, Section AI, if you go to their website, they have their AI manifesto. So they're an AI training company. That's irrelevant. But I thought their manifesto was pretty good. And it's not to copy, but it's to be inspired. I would recommend that your organization, your talent development organization, have an AI manifesto. What are you going to do collectively? What's permitted, what's not, what's encouraged? What are the roles, as Al was talking about, in the future? This can get you there. We've got 1 minute, so I'm going to wrap up with the number one play of the day. Have you heard about the death of employee engagement? So I wrote that post a couple of months ago about rest in peace leadership development on LinkedIn, and it went pretty viral. I think I'm going to do another one about this one. So if you hadn't heard, so this was Business Insider's coverage, but it was everywhere. Loyalty is dead. So AT&T did their annual employee engagement survey, employee experience survey, and CEO digested it. Normally, C-suites, okay, we're going to do better here, we're going to do better there, we're going to focus on these things. He basically just scolded his employees in this long memo. And he says, I understand some of you may have started your tour of this company expecting an employment deal in loyalty, tenure, conformance, compensation, work structure, benefits. We've consciously shifted away from some of this. We want a more market-based culture focused on rewarding capability, contribution, and commitment. Now, if you look at the words themselves, it's like, okay, I'm not exactly sure what he's saying, but you read the tone of his memo, and he's basically saying, and it's what we're hearing over and over again, stop your whining, get back into the office many days a week, and it's about performance now. And there's this big echo around everybody hired the wrong people during COVID, and it's tough to get people to work like they used to and back. Again, every organization is different, et cetera, but we are definitely moving into a 5 to 10 year period where it's organizations are going to be squeezing everywhere. We just went through the L&D Great Recession. I don't see it changing very much. We're at 3:01. We're going to go long to wrap up for a couple more minutes. I want to say thank you. I know many of you are back to back with meetings. Dwayne, give us some good words on the way out.
On the way out, I would say that self-reflection and self-honesty is by far the greatest gift you can give yourself this year. So I challenge you every Friday or every Monday, how you kick things off, do that internal gut check and be authentically honest with yourself. And you may prevent yourself from being at the end of your 2026 goals that you didn't want to achieve, that Kevin made reference to. So self-reflection, self-honesty.
Love that takeaway, Dwayne. Evan, thanks for the production. Al, Dia, you are a rock star. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us today. And thanks everyone for participating. We will see you next month.